This is Mike Hill of TOMBS, and you're listening to the Phantasm Podcast.
This is Dr. Vincent West with the Phantasm Podcast, and I'm here today with Mike from TOMBS. How you doing, man?
Doing okay, man.
It's awesome to have you here today. Of course, you have the Great Annihilation. You're out touring that. And it's the first night out.
Yeah, we've been touring pretty much all year.
Okay.
But this is the first night of the run that we're doing with 1349, which is like the first leg of like a bigger U.S. tour. And where eventually we play Ozfest, and then after that we link up with Crowbar for the rest of the U.S.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Cool. Well, we'll start, if you don't care, you do a brief history of the band for me. And
Sure. I mean, somewhere like around 2007, I think, 2008, we started doing the band, and I was coming off the heels of another band breakup, and just literally the week after that band broke up, I started getting together with the original members of TOMBS and started working on new material right away, and kind of went into the whole thing just like wanting to do stuff that music I wanted to hear without really necessarily having too much of an audience in mind, and just kind of play it by ear and see how things go and let things develop as it does, and 10 years later we're out here touring the States and the U.S. and got a bunch of records out. But there's been a bunch of different people in and out of the band, and right now it's without sounding egotistical, I kind of feel like it's more like my project, and I have people come in and play on it, and there's different eras of the band that we might have the same members for a few years, and then people come and go and leave, but it's pretty much the same way, I guess, like the Swans, so a band like that, where it's like one guy and there's different eras of the band with different members. And I wasn't always comfortable with that idea, but for just because of the way things have been playing out, that's pretty much the situation I find myself in. Rather than quitting the band or having it break up, I want to just keep going, because I'm like always have ideas, and I always have like the gusto to kind of keep moving forward.
Right. So what's this? It's a 10-year anniversary for you this year. Just about.
It's kind of vague. I didn't really keep in mind like when we started officially, but I think our first thing came out in 2008. So it's like roll up to 10 years or so.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
And when you formed the band, did you have a meaning behind when you were like, I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be TOMBS, and do you have like was there something that you had in mind, like influenced?
Yeah, well, there's always definitely, it just, it was more of like a darker feeling to the music, and I just wanted to maintain that. That's something I've always been influenced by, like the darker side of music, and was always very big black metal fan, very big into bands like the Swans and Godflesh, and Fields of the Nephilim, and then traditional metal like Slayer, and Testament, bands like that, death metal, Morbid Angel, Napalm Death, like that kind of stuff. All those influences kind of formed my ideas about how I wanted to do the band, and I kind of feel that's why like there's a wide variety of things that go into play here, and that's why I think every record doesn't have we have a different expression on every record, but there's like a thread that connects everything, but there's different aspects of the same thing that kind of keep being expressed. So I still got a lot of work to do, I still got a lot of ideas, I still have a lot of different like ways that I want to get those ideas out there.
Right.
So
and the name TOMBS, where did you come up with that?
It's one of those things. The name actually predated the band, because I kind of thought, I'm like, someday I want to do a band. It might be a solo band. It might be just like some ambient project or something. But the name TOMBS was always like very, it sort of has this like darker vibe to it. And also it's like a capsule that encloses something that moves through time, sort of like into infinity, and that's kind of the feeling I wanted to, that ominous, dark, deathly feeling is what I wanted to have, be the face of the band, I guess,
Right.
So yeah, the name kind of predated the band, and then when we started doing the band, I was like, yeah, let's call it Tombs, because that's like a name I've been kind of working with, for a little while at least.
It's a brilliant name.
Thank you.
Yeah, I dig it. It's got the your avant-garde thing there, description of the band, I guess some people say, but it's also got the dark aspect to it too.
Yeah, it just sounds heavy, you know what I mean?
Oh, it is. It's cool. It's a great name. And then if it's cool, you want to talk about the first EP just for a sec?
Oh, the very first EP that came out like years and years ago. That was pretty much the vibe of all those different things kind of coming together. Like, and each song on that record, I feel like expresses like a different side of like the things that went into forming the band. And that, once again, that EP is like a sketch, I guess, of like where, kind of like a precursor as to like what was coming down the line, because a lot of those influences are still within the music, but they've been sort of refined, and the technique has gotten better in expressing ourselves. So
sure,
but the sort of seeds of like what the band was going to turn into were all planted on that EP.
Okay. And then you've got the Tombs Planks split EP.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Planks, Ralph Schmidt, the main guy in the band Planks, who are defunct now, but Ralph has moved on to a band called Ultha, U-L-T-H-A.
Okay.
And Ralph has been a friend of mine for like going on 20 years at this point. I met in Germany on tour with like another band I was in, and we just stayed in touch, and it was like, yeah, let's do this split, 12-inch, and we ended up touring together on that in the States. And yeah, that's, once again, it's just trying to try out different ideas, trying to like express every possible way that I can express myself, and have it come out. And that's, once again, just like another aspect of the band. I mean, there's like a little bit of a couple like D-beat kind of vibes on that record, and yeah, it's like some female vocals. My good friend April sang on one of the songs on Cheval Noir, and yeah, just trying to put it all together, I guess. That's like going back a while now at this point. So,
and before I go to Winter Hours, I wanted to ask you this. So, in New York, were you guys really the only thing doing this type of music?
I'm going to say, I'm going to say that probably no one else sounds exactly the way we do.
I would think you're very unique.
Coming out of New York especially, but also a band that was very close to us and still is Black Anvil from New York.
Okay.
I mean, we're our, I have an NYBM tattoo. I mean, we're like a gang, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And like, those guys are my close friends, and I was around like in the beginning of that band too, and they were around the beginning of Tombs, so it's like, we've always played shows together, we've done tours together, I've had, those guys have sang, they've contributed to some of the Tombs material over the years.
Cool.
And so, though we don't sound exactly the same, there's like a thread connecting those two bands, and that's really the only other New York-based band that I really feel any kind of kinship to at this point,
Well, yeah, I mean, I was curious because I was just like, the other stuff that I listen to, some Suffocation or Mortician.
Yeah, those guys are like the generation before.
Yeah, and Pyrexia, whatever, all that stuff that I, grew up listening to. But I thought it was so unique because I didn't know where you all were from. And then when I found out, I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. You did your own thing in your own.
Yeah, Incantation, Immolation, Suffocation, all those bands are like bands I look up to. And, that being the death metal influences. Oh yeah, man, that's they were doing that way before we started doing anything, and they just, when Tombs started, they were already on a different level. So it's like you can't really put yourself in the same conversation.
You friends with all those cats? You friends with them?
Oh, not really. I mean, I know them a little bit from being around the scene and everything, but I wouldn't say like we're friends.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Well, I like that. You all do your own thing. I don't know. That's what drew me to the band initially. Was
Bob and Ross from Immolation are probably the two guys I know the best out of all those bands.
I'm going to interview them next month with Mayhem. Yeah, I'm so excited to have them on.
Well, how can if you've ever met those guys?
They're so nice.
They're great dudes. So
they're
really friendly, forthcoming.
They're fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Winter Hours.
Yep. Okay. That was our first full length, and that was like, once again, still trying to zero in on what we were doing.
Right.
It's with each record we kind of, try to push ourselves a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
And that I feel like there was more of like the kind of looking back on it, and maybe it wasn't the most aggressively like punishing record, but it had a lot more of like a kind of somber, like introspective like feel to it, as opposed to brutality. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was definitely heavy, but it was heavy almost in a more of like an emotional sense of the word. You know what I mean? It's
right.
like heavy in the way like if you listen to like Ulver or something like that, like Ulver has like a heavy vibe, but it's not like as brutal as like say Gorgoroth or something like that.
Sure.
And I feel like that record was kind of, it had a more delicate vibe to it in some parts, and had like a little bit more of a nuanced feel, as opposed to just punishing, brutality and speed and stuff like
that.
But that was, our original drummer was suited more towards playing that style, I think. And then on the next album, on Path to Totality, we had Andrew Hernandez, who he and I, if there was ever going to be like a member that I felt like we were like a team, it was me and Andrew. And when he first joined the band on Path to Totality, that's when we really connected, as far as like having like a team or a crew, or like he and I were like partners really in the band.
Right.
And just with his work ethic and the kind of repetition of trying to perfect things, I think he shared that same philosophy that I do. So we made 2 records together. We made that and Savage Gold, and I think those 2 records stand as like Andrew's like body of work, in the band. And those 2 records, once again, we have Path to Totality, a little bit more brutal, has like more of like overtly metal elements in it.
Sure.
And then Savage Gold has more, I would say, more double kick, more blast beats, a little bit more of like a death vibe to it, like a sort of blackened death kind of feel to it, But that's all. Andrew's like, when he left the band, and it was all on great, there was like no bad feelings at all. He just, his life changed, and right now actually his wife just gave birth to their first kid last week. So that's kind of where he's been at. So
that's cool. You still keep in touch?
Oh yeah, definitely. We're going to be out there in he lives in San Francisco now. Or
that's awesome.
Berkeley, California, or not Berkeley, Oakland. So
gotcha.
So I mean, we stay in touch regularly. He's a good friend, and we're always in contact, and I see him every time we go out there. So I'm going to be seeing him in a couple weeks or so.
Savage Gold was the first thing that I bought from you guys.
Yeah, that's the first record. I think that's an entry point for a lot of people.
And for me, I'll tell you what sold it, and I want to talk to you about this if it's okay. What sold me on it, I was reading reviews about it, and I was like, because I still buy physical media. All my friends are like, why are you not on that? I'm like, because I want to have the goddamn thing in my hand.
Totally, I'm the same way.
But your first record with Eric producing, that's what sold me on, because I will literally, and I brought this up before on the podcast. I've never had him on. And in fact, funny story, the very first interview we ever tried to do was him, and he's just like, I don't have a phone. And I was like, what? I mean, because we were totally winging it, and I don't think he's had time to deal with it. But whatever. I've literally bought albums just because his name was on it.
That's actually, it's interesting you brought that up, because I feel like Eric Rutan, our relationship with him, which started on Savage Gold, really was the beginning of us kind of, I feel like we didn't really hit our stride until Savage Gold came out, because like I said, we were very experimental in the beginning, and it's like trying to figure out the right direction and trying to figure out not really. That took us a couple records to really figure out like what to do, to lock into the creative aspect of what we wanted to really pursue, or what I wanted to pursue, I guess. And one of the sort of byproducts of that is not really working with like the right producers, and I mean, in the beginning, I recorded all the material, so that kind of shows my like amateurish.
It's still cool though.
but yeah, finally, we were at a point where we could actually pick the right guy. We had a good budget, and in my own head, I knew stylistically what kind of sound I wanted, and I wanted to like get away from like the cavernous, like washy, like reverb sounds that we were working with earlier, which was like, you know, probably inspired by bands like Dark Throne and Burzum, and you know, like shoegaze stuff like My Bloody Valentine, and you know, and like Alcest, and you know, bands like that, and kind of wanting to go more into like just straight up like power, you know. So when you say power and all that kind of stuff, Eric Rutan comes to mind as far as like engineering goes, because he's like powerful production guy. So coincidentally, Eric was familiar with the band already. Like he already knew about us a little bit. So we put it together, and ever since then, you know, we've that's the production team. It was me, you know, the band, Eric Rutan, and Alan Dutchess, the mastering engineer, the great Alan Dutchess, who's mastered probably 90% of the records that are in your collection. I mean, he's one of the guys out there that has a real handle on this style of music, like extreme music, you know, be it like the Dillinger Escape Plan, be it Goat Horror, be it Neurosis, be it whatever. You know, he knows exactly what you need to do. So that's the team right there, you know.
Well, Eric, I've said this on our podcast. I want to have him on. My dream is to actually have him on and Scott Burns, because to me, he's the modern Scott Burns.
Totally, yeah.
That's what he is. That's what... Yeah. And it's a selling point to me. And I'll tell you, actually funny, and, you know, I shouldn't say... I'm not going to say who it is, but whatever. But there's a band that will not do my podcast, and they were using him for a long time, and then they didn't use him, and now they've went back to him again. Okay. And I think it's funny because if it's working to me, you know, and I'm not a practicing musician. I'm a musician, but I'm not, you know, in a band. I'm not making money, but it's a selling point for me.
I think so. I think a lot.
I really do. I mean, if you're really nerdy about music, like it's a selling point to me, depending on who produced it. But I understand somebody working with somebody different. Like I guess Goat Horror did on their new record. They went to like their sound guy or whatever to do an album, and it's cool. But I like Eric's. I don't know.
Well, you know what the point of working with Eric is when I realized that I don't know everything about recording. You know what I mean? Where I actually have to trust somebody else to do something that I might not even be aware of.
Right.
It's for the better of the project, for the better of the art. You have to go and have a group, have a team. So, you know, I've always been this guy who's like tried to do everything himself, try to be like really controlled.
Sure.
But working with Rutan was like, okay, I need another guy on my crew, and he's definitely the guy when it's like, okay, I just have to show up and play. I have to show up and do the best job I can as like a musician, and he's going to handle making it sound powerful. So that's being able to let go of that was a huge part of, I think, kind of the band coming into its like maturity, I guess. You know, that's kind of how I feel. Savage Gold was like the beginning of like Tombs being like a mature kind of creative outlet. You know?
Oh, it's great. I love that record. And when you all recorded that record, did you go down to Mana?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's the only way to do it, really.
Well, I mean, he's, like I said, it's a selling point for me, just as a fan. And then, you know, Savage Gold, I can't say enough good things about it. I would love to hear you all play the whole thing all the way through. I love it. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. I love it. And then we'll go to the All Empire's Fall EP.
Okay, yeah, that's the EP, which, we didn't go to Eric on that one just because we didn't have the budget for it, because that was, we did that on our own, actually. That's,
it's great.
Thank you very much. That's a record that we produced and licensed it to Relapse, because at that point we were done with our contract. And
with Metal Blade,
with Relapse.
Oh, with the Relapse contract Relapse. Before the Metal. Yep. Okay, gotcha.
And that we wanted to put something out that, you know, we actually owned everything about it. So we produced this EP, and at that point, you know, there was some more lineup changes, different drummer, you know, all this kind of stuff. And we had the synth guy Fade playing in the band for a while. Nice. And that was like his first thing. And that we just only had like a finite amount of resources, so we had to get it done like in a very cost-effective way.
Sure.
And look, everyone does favors for people, but if I want people to get paid what they're worth, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I don't want to be looking to call in favors with people, you know what I mean? If someone wants to offer a favor, that's fine, but I would never want to approach someone like Eric Rutan and be like, hey, you know, we only have this amount of money, and it's way less than like what you actually, right. you know, normally get. And I don't want to put him in a situation, or I wouldn't want to put anyone in a situation where you're offering them something that's like way below what they normally get and expecting them or hoping that they're going to work with you on that. So just out of respect, I didn't want to like, hey, we only have X amount of dollars. I just didn't want to put any pressure on them. So we just ended up piecing it together. Like, we found a studio in upstate New York. We called in a friend of ours who is a very great engineer himself, Sanford Parker. But he was willing to do it for like a very, low amount of money. And we just went for it. And I think that's probably one of my favorite things we've done. I think the songs are really good and the production's great especially for the budget we had, And, to this day, I still feel very proud of that record,
Yeah, I think it's cool. Now, do you want to just briefly talk about, I'm curious just as a fan, the move from Relapse to Metal Blade?
Yeah, well, that's, we were done with Relapse, and we had just started working with management, and, the Oracle, like Mark Vieira is our manager.
Okay.
And it was, okay, well, great, you put this EP out, but we need to start thinking about doing an LP and getting like a real situation with a label. And so we ended up, we could have signed back with Relapse. We had a couple other offers on the table. Then Mark was like, well, let me run this by my people I know over at Metal Blade. And I'm like, yeah, sure, like whatever, man, like that's like,
you're like that's gonna happen.
I'm like, and sure enough, man, like they were interested in working with us, which is really shocking to me because I realize like in the big picture of things, we don't really fit in as far as like a band that's going to sell like enough records to really matter to a label like Metal Blade. But I guess they believed enough in what we were doing to.
I think it makes total sense.
Well, that's good.
I mean, I really did. I was because to me, as an older, we'll talk about this a sec if it's cool.
Yeah.
As an older metal fan, it's like the stuff I gravitate towards on that label. Are your King Diamonds and your Armored Saints.
Sure.
And honestly, as weird as this may sound, I think you all fit perfectly with that, as opposed to some bands that I won't name that are on that label that I think are only there for money reasons, I guess, and not really for talent reasons. And
well, I mean, if you think about it, in the beginning,
like Goat Whore, love them.
Oh yeah, totally.
And you guys,
greatest live
to me,
band ever, man.
Hand in hand, it just makes sense.
I've always felt
Metal
that.
Blade. I feel like that's them. Me as a record buyer, they're going, hey, here's TOMBS. It's like, sorry about some of this deathcore stuff, but we got TOMBS. It's like, cool, this is awesome.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, it's fucking awesome, and I pay attention to that stuff because I'm just like, growing up with that label, it's like, there's Slayer on there, and Armored Saint. It's like, and Fate's Warning and all that stuff, and whatever. There's all those different bands on there, but to have you guys join that roster, I think it's fucking sick.
If you think about Brian Slagle in the early days of metal, it's like, the early scene when thrash came out, and I mean even like new wave of British heavy metal, like all that stuff. He kind of was like always like one step ahead of like what the trend might have been.
Definitely.
So I mean, I'm not saying like we're part of some new trend or whatever, but like we definitely aren't.
It's different.
It's different. Yeah, I mean we're not.
It's innovative.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, I get it. I think it's creative and it's innovative and those are important. I think that's why TOMBS I think is so important. That's why I wanted you guys on the podcast so much, because I was like,
thank you.
But yeah, we had Slagle on a while back. He was doing interviews.
Interesting guy.
Yeah, it was cool.
Guy.
I ended up talking about hockey with him more than I did anything. So
yeah,
we were. It was pretty funny, but yeah. I mean, so Great Annihilation, and that's your latest album this year on Metal Blade. Your first with Metal Blade.
Yeah, that's that. Speaking of what we said earlier, that really is a record I kind of wrote by myself. Really.
Really.
It's like, yeah, I mean, the band was going through a very interesting sort of like, lack of a better term, like upheaval, I guess, and moving into the realm that we're in right now requires a great bit of sacrifice and a great bit of intention and focus, which I just don't think some of those guys were really willing to make that step. You know what I mean? And
it's not for everybody, I guess.
No, it's I mean, like I said, this is the third U.S. tour we've done since May. We've been touring pretty nonstop all year. It's not going to stop for a while, and some people had different ideas about what they wanted to do, and that's cool. And that's, unfortunately, it kind of came at a point where it was like very important for us to have it together. But I just kind of took the ball and ran with it, and I was like, I spent all last summer writing all the material, and and we recorded it. But it was recorded. The recording of it, I mean, just to put it as get the record straight, I really would like to have it as a band, where it's like everyone's contributing equally, but in the sake of progress, and once you put your name on a document, you have to like produce something. And for me, I wasn't gonna not fulfill my end of the bargain, which is like what it is. It's an agreement to make a record. So I just did what I did. Sat down, I wrote music, I put it all together, and I had the drummer on board, which is always important. And then pretty much the whole record was, we did that stuff kind of like as almost like a solo project. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a great record. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate
get to some
that.
of the tracks with that if it's cool. Let me get it pulled up here. I got my little handy phone here. So, and before I get to that, so obviously Eric again.
Yeah.
And Mana down at
down there. Yep,
awesome.
Once again, and he just upgraded a bunch of stuff, and it sounds even better than I thought. And also, the coolest thing about it, it's like the second time around, so everything's built on what comes before. And we'd already did Winter Hours with him. We whatever things we learned from that session, we applied to the Great Annihilation session.
Sure.
And then, he and I are, like in touch all the time, really.
I love it. That's great.
And like, and when it came into the time of like, yeah, Eric, we're gonna be doing a new album. Whenever you want the demos, I'll send them over. So there was that communication going on of like, demos. These are the ideas we have. Like, he had time to really absorb like what our intentions were.
Right.
And I think that's just all good, man. I love that. I love that we're gonna, whenever we make another LP, we'll be going down to Eric Rutan. So it's gonna hopefully be better than the last one. So.
Well, if it's cool, let's talk. I'm gonna do like track by track here with you a little bit about the new album, Black Sun Horizon.
Yeah. Okay. That's like it's about well, one of the things that I contemplate a lot is like consciousness and sort of what lies beyond like this kind of life that we have, or this reality, and that's kind of what that song addresses. It's that idea of whatever our perception is in reality is like kind of there's probably a bigger picture that we're just not seeing. So
it's a cool song.
Thank you.
Yeah. And of course, that's the opening track, and then Cold.
Oh, Cold. Those two songs are actually kind of like very similar.
Okay.
About like lifting like the kind of, when I say at the end, the lines at the end, tear away the veil, which is like coincidentally we're rolling up on Halloween, where the veil, the veil is the thinnest between the worlds. So this is kind of, that's a recurring theme in a lot of the songs. It's just like, like our awareness of reality in the universe and like what actually is in it, and trying to like peek beyond the border between this reality and this universe and like some other thing. So that's kind of why those two songs are together, because they sort of fit together to create a bigger picture about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. Now I think about it, listening, because I meant to mention this earlier. When I listen to your all stuff, I listen to it all the way through.
Yeah. Okay. So
to me, you're all not a track band.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let's listen to the track. Not that they're not that it's not. It's just I enjoy listening to the whole thing.
Yeah, like Pink Floyd or something.
Yeah,
like
man,
that.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Old Wounds, track 3.
Yeah, Old Wounds. That's just about like torture and fucking like going to hell, basically. You know what I mean? It's like living in the realm that we're in right now of like believing that this might be the last epoch of humanity. You know, and it's just like existing sort of with that. It's almost like you're unaware of it, but you might slowly you realize that shit's changing around you, and you're like, man, there's like this could be it. This could be the end. And I guess that's like trying to save yourself from like this kind of inevitable doom. That's what that song's about, really.
That's awesome. And then November Wolves.
That song is probably my favorite song on the record. It's about fucking werewolves, man. But like, it's the reason why I love werewolves is because it connects us to this more primal, like animalistic side of our personality. You know what I mean? It's like inside everyone. Like, I don't believe in good and evil. I believe that we just exist as these like beings that have aspects of good and aspects of evil, and without the sort of construct of civilization, we have this like brutish, like animal side to us. And November Wolves is about kind of like, when the time is right, embracing like that brutal primal side of yourself, you know. And that song's all about a celebration of just like raw power, you know what I mean?
it's a cool track. I love that. I love what it's about. It's awesome. And then Underneath
is this kind of like moody, you know, like about contemplating like I like to read about witchcraft and, you know, and Salem and all that, the Salem trials. Nice. About just contemplating like the kind of believing that you're practicing something that's harmless, that's actually helping, and the ignorance around you putting you in a position where your life is in danger. Right. You know, and that's how I kind of, that's sort of like an allegory, I guess, to just have being a free thinker in the society, because it's like my impression of witchcraft is that it's basically, you know, it's nothing really satanic about it. It's a bunch of women who are putting together herbs and these different poultices and stuff, and but the sort of patriarchal society wanted to control them, and they couldn't control their freedom, so they had to kill them. You know, they had to like find out, put the Christian sort of yoke on them, and use that reflection of like, oh well, you know, this is satanic, it's against God, so we're gonna like execute these women. You know, that's kind of like, that song is a not literally about that, but that's kind of the mindset I was in when I wrote the song.
It's very interesting as well. Way of the Storm.
Way of the Storm is about the end of the world. Okay. It's about bringing on like a new dark age controlled by like another deity. You know, it's thinking about like, you know, when you think about the apocalypse and like how, you know, quote unquote Satan is supposed to take over and create this new realm, this new existence. Right. So Way of the Storm is pretty much about that, where, you know, we've had our run in the sort of, you know, not really sticking to the Christian idea of things, but like the light has had its time, and then it's time for the dark side to take over, and maybe the dark side, the darkness, can actually create like a better world for everyone to live in, as opposed to the light, because obviously the world that we're living in is not a very good world with all the strife that we have, you know. And it also kind of touches on the sort of like agnostic idea, where it's like the Gnostic idea, where like maybe good and bad are actually flipped, where it's like, you know, maybe like the demiurge, you know, like maybe the dark side is the right way to do things, and the light is the underworld, you know, that kind of vibe. So that's some of the concepts I was putting forth in that song.
It's a cool track, man. It's got a cool backstory with it too. Shadows at the End of the World.
Shadows at the End of the World is just a song about war, basically. Okay. You know, it's like basically, you know, we're surrounded by reports of young people coming back from overseas, destroyed, you know, the lives crushed, and even if they're surviving, they have the shadow of like what they experienced, like creating, like destroying their old life prior to that, and then creating this other sort of like broken life that they have to live, you know, after having experienced and done horrible things. So that song is basically about war, you know.
It's cool. Walk With Me in Nightmares.
The song's like basically it's like a murder ballad. It's like I don't know if you ever listened to the record Murder Ballads by Nick Cave. It's all the songs are about like killing people and stuff. So Walk With Me is about, you know, like the kind of like male gaze, you know, and how that could be like a negative thing. And once again, this is not me, this is a character I'm writing about. I have respect for women, I would never hurt women, you know, but like it's like that story of like the kind of lurking prowler, you know, serial murder guy. That's sort of, it's a murder ballad, you know. These aren't songs, these aren't like autobiographical things.
Sure.
They're characters.
Yeah,
you know, I know that
horror.
everyone being like so sensitive these days. Oh, Mike Hill's a misogynist because he wrote a song about like killing women or whatever. But it's just you know, all that stuff fits within the worldview somehow. And it's a piece of art that needs to be expressed.
Your description makes me think of Maniac.
What a great movie, right?
Fucking A.
Yeah, that's a fucking male archetype, though, of like the creeping guy out there, you know.
He's great.
And that's like, but why? Well, we like watching movies and reading stories about that, and I wrote a song like that, so that's what it is.
It's perfect. I'm gonna pronounce that wrong.
Saturnalian.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Saturnalian, once again, is like connecting more towards like the ritualistic sides of like witchcraft and you know, like when people think of like witchcraft and you know, like they think of these like, you know, what I think they have the wrong idea about it, you know. And this song kind of is more about the ritual, not necessarily being something that you conjure. It's not like you're calling something that's not there. It's I'm trying to explain this. You're not summoning like a deity to help you. You're actually, the ritual is actually bringing out something that's already inside yourself, you know? Like when people say magic, like ritual magic or witchcraft, they think about, you know, pulling a rabbit out of a hat or something. And that's really
not David Copperfield.
That's not what I'm talking about.
You're not talking.
Magic and witchcraft is more about like using certain rituals, certain practices to connect with like something inside yourself to help you realize that goal. And that song is inspired by that idea that, you know, I'm not like doing a rain dance so it rains. It's like I'm trying to like burn candles and use these symbols and, you know, to actually connect with something that exists inside me to achieve my goals, to connect to like the higher part of myself.
Right.
You know, and using the different, you know, sorts of, you know, use the word ritual lightly. There's all sorts of rituals that you do, you know, that, you know, you burn candles, you use incense, you have symbols around you, and those things create a mindset that enables you to connect to these higher ideas. And that's, song basically is that, you know.
That's really cool. Temple of Mars, the final track.
The title has really nothing to do with the song, which I thought the title sounded cool, you know, but I was trying to like lyrically connect it to Mars, you know, the god of war and crops and, you know, lust and all that sort of stuff. The song actually has more to do with like those final moments of life before you like slip away into the abyss. And like, once again, the contemplation of death is something that's like a very big part of a lot of the writing and creative stuff I do. And, you know, that weird thin border of like when you're alive and then when life leaves your body, like that moment, contemplating that moment between life and death is what that song is basically about.
It is different than the title.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the title. I wanted to write about Mars, but it's Tel Aviv, you know.
That's cool. And of course, you can pick the Great Annihilation up now through Metal Blade Records, which we'll get to that. But I love the record. I just want to touch on that a second. I love the artwork.
Oh yeah, Thomas Hooper once again.
It's,
you know, go-to guy.
It's cool. It really is. It's one of my favorite records. It's definitely going to be in my top 10 list for the year. Yeah, it's great. So we'll touch on this real quick before I start talking about horror with you, because I got to talk horror with you for some time. But a lot of touring.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of touring. You're about to do a lot of touring.
Sure.
You're going to be going out. Crowbar.
Yep.
Doing Ozfest before that.
Yep.
And now, of course, I'm sitting here at your touring 1349, doing some shows with Goat Whore as well.
Yeah, 1349 all the way out to California. Goat Whore is on the majority of that as well.
Nice.
And Creator, that tour package is supporting Creator on a couple of dates.
I'm going to tell you what, I love that new Creator album.
God of Violence?
Yes.
The Gods of Violence? Yeah, I have to listen to it. I haven't, you know, I hate to admit, but I haven't heard it yet.
It's one of my favorite things this year, and honestly, he keeps reinventing the wheel, I think, for them. And I don't know about you, I'm more of a Teutonic thrash guy than I'm.
Oh yeah, like Sodom and Destruction.
Yeah, man, that's my.
Yeah, totally.
But that's just more my thing. But I got to interview him back in March. I had a fucking cool interview. You should check it out. It was really cool. And I got back shit because I couldn't believe he was going to do it, and we ended up doing it. But the record's cool, and man, to see that's a package right there, man. You got Goat Whore, 3049 Tombs, fucking Creator. That's fucking sick. That's
we're all playing Ozfest too. So.
That's cool. And there's a bunch of good stuff on that this year.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a good time, man.
It is. It's cool. Do you guys? Have you done a lot of the? Because I don't know this. I figured I would ask you this before we get to the horror stuff. But do you like touring in Europe?
Do I like it?
Yeah.
You know, I think I used to like touring in Europe more than I do now. Nothing against anyone over there, but it's like, it's hard to explain why I'm not in such a hurry to go back to Europe, and it's got nothing to do with any people or anything specifically. Right. But it's like, it's kind of like a huge, expensive pain in the ass to get over there, you know. And
it seems like
it really is, man. And like, it's very physically draining being there. We had a couple of offers to go over there, and they just didn't work out. Like as far as like, well, and I'm going to say financially they didn't work out. Not meaning that we're going to make millions of dollars, but it was like the basic costs were not being met to get there.
Right.
Which, I mean, you know, it's there's certain hard truths that we all have to adhere to in this thing. You know, like when you got to hit flights, you got to rent gear, you got you got to pay for driving, you know, vehicles and all that kind of stuff. And like at the very least, like that stuff needs to be taken care of before we even talk about like actually being able to survive while you're there. So that was a real bummer. You know, both tours were something I really wanted to do. The other tour,
this is a good package.
It was a great package, but like in one case it was all finances, and in the other case the offer actually never came to us. It was like I had a brief conversation. It was with Today Is the Day, and going into that,
cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I mean,
it's my brother's. He loves that band,
dude.
Loves that band.
Today Is the Day. For decades, were a band that I've always looked up to. Steve Austin, I think, is a genius, and like they were a huge. They still are. You can probably hear influences in their music on what I do in Tombs. But I talked to Steve, and we were like, I was like, yeah, let's figure this out, man. And I'm not pinning this on Steve. I just think on the booking end,
it just didn't. Make sense.
The offer never came to us. It never even was like, okay, guys, here's our offer for you. Because usually the way it works is like someone approaches you, okay, you guys available to do this thing, and you're either are or you're not. And if you are, then they send you like they send your booking agent an offer of X amount of dollars a day to do this thing, and then it's either good or bad, or that your agent might try to negotiate more or whatever. But I'm not involved in any of that stuff. I just say, yeah, this is cool, or that money's not going to work for us or whatever. And then, but none of that stuff ever came, man. And like, then I saw that it was being promoted, and I was like, wow, this is weird. And the dates were conflicting with stuff that we already had booked in the States, and it was just kind of a big mess. But I still would love to tour Today Is the Day. I think that'd be great, either here in the States or in Europe. But
yeah, that's a good package.
But I mean, we'll be there next year. I mean, you know, and we have to go there, really. I mean, it's like we can't not tour in Europe with a new record out. And
do you like the festivals? Is that what you end up?
We've done like Roadburn and like Roskilde Festival and Ypres Fest. And
what was that like? Was that fun?
Roskilde was a trip, man, because it's funny. The two craziest fests we did were like Roskilde and Temples, because we got flown in, we did the fest, and we were back by Monday. It was like Friday to Monday. It was like boom, we were in Europe. Yeah, it's like you come home and like, wow, we just played this fest. We just, you know, I'm back. But it's like, it just seemed like such a surreal experience to like fly all the way to to Europe, do a thing, come back. You know, it's crazy.
It's awesome.
And like for Roskilde, we had like a 12-hour layover in Amsterdam, and we were like in the airport. We took a train into Amsterdam. We like walked around, and then we came back and flew back to New York. And it was like I crammed in this whole like adventure in like 48 hours. It was pretty insane.
You know, it's funny. I was talking with a friend of mine And I guess he used to go over there regularly for the weed or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is not really my thing. But I always told him I wanted to go there for the hookers. I was just
that's
like,
a whole industry.
Dude,
there.
that's fucking, you know, and he's just like, oh, you'd like that? I've just never, you know. I've been to Mexico, and that's the only out-of-country experience I've had so far. So, but hopefully one day I'd love to go to one of those festivals and cover stuff. But
well, Holland is great, man. I love Holland. Roadburn really is by far number one. It's my number one place. I love playing there. I love doing that. I love Maryland Death Fest to be either Maryland Death Fest and Roadburn are like the two favorite things I've done festival-wise so far. And you know, I would say Roadburn just a little bit more because it's like in Holland, and Holland is amazing. I love Holland, and then you get to see bands that never come to the States, which is like the other cool thing about Roadburn. Like when we played twice, and the first time we played was with Aranci Pazuzu, who at the time had not come to the United States.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
Oh man. They're from Finland. It's like this very sort of avant-garde black metal, very unique kind of band.
I'll have to check it out. I've never.
And then the second time we played, Fields of the Nephilim played.
Oh, that's awesome.
Haven't toured in the States I think since like the late '80s. So I never ever even thought that I would see them play, let alone like in Europe.
There they are.
At this great festival, like Goblin played and. Us and Black Anvil were on tour together in Europe, so we both played. Faust was on the bill, and it was just like such an amazing time. And then, you know, you put some money aside to spend on buying records and rare shit that you can't find anywhere.
Sure.
It's just like such a well-run festival with like such a great positive vibe, and everyone had a great time there. You know,
I've never got to go to one. I've had friends try to get me. It's more of a cost thing with me, you know, having the money to go do it, because they were wanting me to go. I think that Grass Pop Metal meeting or Hellfest or one of the bigger ones, and I was just like, man, I don't have the fucking money for that.
It's expensive to go there. It really is.
But horror movies.
Oh yeah.
You're okay. Kind of just do the thing I do with this. So I'll start with this because you mentioned werewolves. Favorite werewolf movie.
Okay.
I'll tell you mine.
Go ahead.
You're about to say it.
American Werewolf in London.
Hands down,
Hands
man.
down, my favorite
Rick
werewolf.
Baker makeup. It's fucking the best to me. Transformation too. That transformation's ridiculous. It still is, man.
Yep. At the time, it was nothing. You never seen anything like that before, you know.
We had David Naughton on. My co-host interviewed him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
I don't know how that went.
I should. You know, I'm gonna have a lot of time to listen to podcasts on this trip, so I'll have to check out.
Dude, yeah, man, please. That would mean a lot to me. He usually does the convention circuit, so he tries to horror some interviews there with old horror actors. But your first horror film that you saw that you fell in love, dude. Same here.
Yep.
What a I can't watch it.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I can, but it still freaks me the fuck out. Like I get the willies when I've got to about be drunk to watch it, because if I'm anything else, it just stresses me out.
I was a very young kid when I saw that movie, and it really, really like
saw it at a drive-in.
You know, I did too. My parents took me to see this movie.
Yep.
And I was terrified, and like that really like molded who I became later in life. I think seeing The Exorcist.
Well, you know, I thought it was interesting. Just to touch on that a sec, when I saw both my parents, very religious. I am not.
Yeah.
And then we go see the Exorcist, and I'm just like, really? It's like just the humor in that alone for me.
Yeah.
Just as I got older.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this until I guess about a year ago. The stairs from where they shot that, Georgetown, is that right?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. Down
it's a public document. Like, they can't tear it down or anything.
Oh,
it's
really?
There. Yeah, you can totally go get your picture on it and
that's
shit.
Cool.
I've never done it. I've never been up there. If I am, I'm going to ham it up for pictures. Me standing on those stairs.
I gotta look into that. I was unaware of that.
Yeah, you can literally go, look it up. Like, you can go and... I mean, it's all there, that whole thing there. I mean, it looks different, but the stairs don't. Yeah. And they're right there. And there's like a plaque and everything. Like, a bunch of people got together and actually made it a historical thing where they can't tear it down or fight, which I think's awesome.
That's cool.
But I'm a big slasher guy.
Okay, I like slasher movies, like older. I mean, I love. It's hard for me to say what I'm a fan of this or that because I like so much in the genre.
Well, we'll just start throwing stuff out there, man.
Okay.
We were talking about Maniac before. What a great movie.
I would say it's probably my favorite in the slasher genre.
Oh, it's so good
because it's like, well, Joe Spinell is like one of my top guys as far as
awesome. And you're the hometown guy there with
he's in New York.
Yeah,
from Queens, I think he's from.
Awesome. And, love that movie. Hated the remake. Thought that was
know what, man?
You dug it?
I thought it was pretty good. Like I went into it being like I was going to hate this, but if it wasn't called Maniac, I think it would have been a cool movie. Honestly, like if they didn't try to make it like, oh, this is a Maniac remake, I would have been a pretty cool film, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's okay to disagree, I guess. But
I mean, honestly, most newer horror films, like I'll give you one right now. Everybody that I've interviewed this year just loves that movie, The Witch. I didn't like it.
There were things about it I liked, and there were things about it I didn't like. I think that, all right, I'll tell you what I don't like about it. Number one, it's not that version of witchcraft, is the sort of almost like, the Christian version of it, where it's like connected to the devil and Satan. And it's like, the thing is about witchcraft is that it has nothing to do with Christianity. It's a completely older sort of like idea, and something like Satan or Jesus or whatever has nothing to do with witchcraft. It's like that has like a pre-Christian thing, and evil and the underworld and all that stuff. Well, the underworld exists in like pagan ideas, but it's not a negative place, really.
Right.
That's what I didn't like about it, was that it was like the typical Christian like telling of witch.
There's a lot of newer, like everybody I know liked It Follows. I thought that movie was terrible too.
Yeah, it's like a deconstructed horror film, I guess. You know what I mean?
It's just one of those. I don't know. I'm trying to think of another one that people. I'm not real big. Honestly, the only newer like horror movies I've seen that I liked, and this is generic sounding, but I really like them, are those two Conjuring movies they did.
Really? Okay.
I dig those, man. Cool. I don't know why. I mean, I know that newest one, that nun kind of looks like Marilyn Manson or whatever. It's like, but I think it's actually freaky the way that he did it and stuff. Like, because I'll tell you something funny. I've never watched the Saw films.
I saw the first one. I thought it was pretty cool. I've never watched them. But then I got really corny at the end.
I just never. Yeah. I never watched them. I shot away from that stuff. I'm kind of trapped in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Sure. Yeah,
maybe a little bit in the 90s. But I'm a huge Vincent Price fan. I'm a huge Hammer horror fan.
We were just talking about that on my horror podcast, Necromaniacs. We were just talking about Vincent Price, and we did Curse of the Werewolf in the last episode.
God, that's awesome.
That's a classic. That's their only werewolf film that Hammer did. They did a ton of Dracula films.
That's true.
And Frankenstein, but they only did one werewolf movie.
Are you a Cushing or a Lee guy?
Man, that's a hard one because they're both so great. I'm going to say Christopher Lee.
I'm a big Cushing guy. I don't know why. It's fucking cool. But I love Stephen King stuff.
Right.
But did you see the It remake?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I liked it because the TV version of it didn't really capture it for me, and I feel like this is what I'm going to say about what do I like, say, it compared to Martyrs, like the French film? No. But for a Hollywood R-rated film, for a film that was made on a big budget by a Hollywood studio, to go with an R rating in this climate where none of these horror movies like American
and everything's PG-13,
everything's PG, was cool, and it kind of like I think broke some ground in the way that like they're like, okay, well, we can do hard R horror films and make money, and I think that I'm hoping that opens the door for like
it's the 80s again.
Yeah, for more like harder edge material, because man, horror is an extreme art form. It's not. It shouldn't be restrained with like a PG-13.
Completely agree with you on that.
And that's why I look at that as it being a important film in that way, because now I think that the audiences are coming back to like more adult themed stuff in the United States, at least.
Right.
And I think it's going to open the door for hopefully other projects have like real budgets behind them.
What's your favorite Stephen King film, he didn't have to do it, like The Shining or whatever, is there do you have a favorite? Because mine's The Dead Zone.
That's a great one.
People give me so much shit about that movie, and then they've never seen it. They're like, I've never seen. I'm like, it's Christopher Walken. It's fucking
great.
amazing.
And his demeanor in that movie.
Oh God, it's David Cronenberg too. Directed
David Cronenberg.
It. Fucking ridiculous. The score's great.
I was gonna say The Dead Zone and The Shining as my two favorites. Actually,
totally agree with you.
But did you see 1922?
No.
It's a Netflix production of a Stephen King short story, I believe. I didn't read the Stephen King story, but it's funny. I read all of his originals and up until the 90s.
Okay.
Then there was a lull where I didn't read anything of his for a while. Then I came back to some of his later stuff, and I did not read 1922 yet. But during the period of time when I wasn't reading him, he was still banging out books like every year.
Sure.
So there was a whole
he's a
plethora
machine
of films and books I haven't read yet. But that 1922 is it's on Netflix right now, and it's got Thomas Jane in it.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, he's great, and it's a very, very depressing. There's no humor at all in the film, and at the ending is so downbeat, and it's like definitely you feel like this very dark vibe at the end of the movie, and it's like a murder film. It's not really a horror film.
Gotta watch it.
Yeah, it's great. Definitely great.
You're the second person to tell me that to watch it.
Oh yeah, excellent. I give it like 5 out of 5. Excellent
nice
movie, yeah.
Trying to think. What about are you into the Italian stuff?
I am, not as much as the guy, my partner at Necromaniacs, Mike, is
Okay.
the other Mike, is way more of an Italian horror film
Same
guy.
as my co-host. He's the Italian guy.
Yeah.
I'm more the John Carpenter, George Romero, the standard stuff. Have you went to see John perform?
Man, every time he comes through town, I'm on tour and I miss it, man. And
here's what blows my mind. Man. I live in the South. He's from Kentucky, and he will not play in the fucking South. Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I've literally, it's like, are you kidding me? Why are you not playing this? You're from Kentucky. Can I get an Atlanta date? Can I get a Florida date? So, I mean, at least Atlanta, it's like, it would sell out if he played Atlanta. Totally. It's like,
I mean, he's a big enough name, that like he can play a couple of the major cities down here, like Atlanta, maybe DC or Baltimore or something like that, and then I mean, he probably does. He's probably not looking to tour the way we tour, play 40 dates across.
I know, but he keeps. Here's what confuses me: he keeps playing the same damn city. It's like, dude, could you at least play Atlanta?
Yeah.
Just one? Can I have one Southern date? He's not played any dates in the South.
I hear you, man.
I think the furthest south he's played was Ohio.
That's not really the South, if you ask me.
I know, it's not. It's not. Yeah. So I was just like, and I've got some friends trying to get me to go out to the San Francisco to watch him play next month. And I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, I'm such a stickler about his stuff because he's like my favorite.
Sure, man.
And I've literally had people tell me never meet him. Like he's a dick.
Oh wow, okay.
And it's because it would kill me to meet him, and totally. He'd act like. But I want Tommy Lee Wallace, who initially was up there when he would perform this stuff in the studio, and Alan Holdsworth. It's like if he had them with him and not his kids, I'd probably be a little bit more interested in it. But I'm kind of a stickler about that. It's like, you sitting up there with a keyboard's cool, but I don't really want to see your family up there with you. It's like
true. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just me. And if you've watched any of the footage of it, it's kind of, I don't know.
I haven't seen any of the footage.
The records he's putting out right now are cool.
Yeah, the records are great. Yeah,
but as far as if it was just him and maybe Alan Holdsworth or something, to me. But favorite Carpenter film?
The Thing.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that's like, that one really sticks out as different to me. I don't know. Maybe the acting. Maybe he's got. There's all of it. A lot of his other films have there's this characteristic about all of them which pegs it as a John Carpenter film. Like Prince of Darkness, They Live, all that stuff. It's this is John Carpenter, the atmosphere and the acting.
I'm actually chilling in the.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Love it.
Yeah, They Live. The Obey shirt. But The Thing really sticks out as his crowning achievement, I think, is a film.
It's his favorite film.
It is.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. It's
hands down his favorite film.
It's very rewatchable. You know, it's like great performances by all the actors.
Oh,
you know?
Man, anytime him and Kurt Russell make a film together,
Yeah.
magic. You know, my favorite is probably, and it's never really changed from this over the years. Some people are like, "Oh, that's weird," whatever. I don't know. I think my favorite movie that he probably ever did is probably The Fog.
The Fog's a good one. Very, very creepy sort of film.
I don't know. I just I love the score to it. I'm also a big fan. I like Escape from New York.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that's a classic.
It's just so fucking. I mean, as far as the Kurt Russell stuff, but what I love about the thing is the gore in it.
The effects.
And Rob Bottin.
Rob Bottin, yep.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, I don't know if this is true. I had read, I actually watched on an old DVD release that's like 20 years old. Like, it was saying that he lived on like candy bars and like Pepsi or something. And he almost died apparently when they were up there shooting it. Like, he got so sick.
Yeah, he was a young man at the time, so when you're young, your metabolism is such that you can probably live on that kind of stuff, man. But, you know, it's like you get a couple of years under your belt.
Did you like that Thing prequel that they... I've never seen it.
I own a copy of it, and like I watched it once, and I was like, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't really that... I didn't really care for it, you know.
Well, let's talk about this. That's your favorite Carpenter film. The end of it, the classic end of the film. Do you think one of them is this? Who do you think it is?
I'm going to say that it's, what's his name? David Keith?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say it's him. That's the guy I think is the thing from another world, or whatever it's called. The alien.
You know, what's funny? Do you have the Blu-ray that they put out last year?
No.
Oh, dude, I'll have to get you a copy of that.
Oh, dude.
It's fucking... You will shit. There's so much. There's an extra Blu-ray of just all extra shit on it.
Oh, nice.
Interviews and, you know, still galleries and documentaries and all this other stuff. But the one of my favorite things on there is John's being interviewed, and that's when he says it's his favorite film and everything else. But they ask him, they're like, you know, which one? He's like, I'm not fucking telling you that. And that's how they end the interview.
Oh, wow.
They ask him, he's just like, it's like, do you know? Yeah. Yeah, of course I do, but no, I'm not telling you. I just think it's funny. But apparently he's really abrasive, so I've always shied away from meeting him. I would kill. We've tried all kinds of shit to try to get him to come on. Because I've seen, like, it's weird. He'll do, like, some random, like, podcast. I'm like, how the fuck did you get that? So, and then I'm like, I've got to try to get this because that's my guy. Never happening.
Oh, wow.
It was like the fucking Great Wall trying to get to him.
Man.
Oh, man, awesome. It would be amazing because I'm such a huge fan. Favorite Romero film?
Okay, now, let's see. Favorite Romero film. I mean, I could say Night of the Living Dead, but
it's good.
But that's like my easy answer. Martin.
Man, I want a Blu-ray release of that so bad.
Martin.
They've never put that out.
That's a great one, man.
It's a crazy movie.
Yeah,
it's so good. I'm pretty sure Tom Savini did the makeup in that too.
Yeah, I think he did all of the makeup in all of his films.
It's so good. Mine's probably. And this is a weird one, but I don't know why. I just really like this movie. I saw it at the theater. I really like The Dark Half.
Yeah, that's a great... Yeah, once again, another Stephen King, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they're paired up. Yep. The Creep Show.
Creep Show is cool.
Oh, God. I love Creep Show 2.
The Dark Half...
I get a lot of shit for that, but I love Creep Show 2.
I really like the Stephen King story, The Dark Half. Like, that was a cool... you know, like the actual... The written version of the book. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Let's see, what am I not thinking of? So if you had to pick an Italian horror film that you like.
Okay. Let's say Suspiria, probably. Maybe I would go with Suspiria.
That's doing a theatrical run.
It is. I'm hoping that I can catch that in New York. There's, maybe when I get home. Yeah, there's a couple of theaters. There's, we have an Alamo in New York City now. And there's,
awesome.
It's in Brooklyn, not too far from where I live. And then there's there's two of them, the Nighthawk Cinema, and they play stuff like that all the time. So I'm hoping that when I get home, Suspiria is playing. You know,
I think if it's what I'm thinking of up there, I'll have to check it. I can message you about it or whatever. But I'm pretty sure where that's playing it up there, it's like the 4K version too. Because
sweet.
Where I'm at down in Florida, they showed it recently, but it was not the.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool, but it was just like I didn't end up going. My co-host did, but I guess
I miss a lot of stuff being on the road.
Sure, man. You know? Sure, you got to make time for that stuff. You can't make time if you're on the road. So, Friday the 13th? Yes, no?
Yeah, definitely. Friday the 13th.
Have you played the video game?
No, I haven't.
I'm obsessed with it.
Really?
I'm obsessed
not really
with
a big video game guy.
This is going to sound weird. Anyone that you know that does, let them show you that game.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. Kane Hodder did all the skins, and the kill. Tom Savini came on, and they did all the stuff in it.
Oh, wow.
But essentially, I don't really like playing as Jason. I like running from him.
Cool.
You pick up bats, different weapons you hit him with and stuff. It's actually really cool.
One of the compare contrast things though is like Halloween versus Friday the 13th. Mm-hmm. Probably going to go to Halloween though.
Dude, I'm a big Halloween fan. Well, the first one. I like the third one. Everybody hates that movie. I love it.
Season of the Witch.
So
the one that's out of sequence.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, I enjoy that one.
Stop it! I love Tom Atkins, man. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I actually... Necromaniacs, we covered that on the Halloween episode, actually.
Really?
Which came out. This is our most recent episode.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
And we talk about that. And I would say the first three, and then it just got silly with Jason, or with Michael Myers.
You know which one I kind of like? The one with Paul Rudd in it, part 6. The last one with Donald Pleasance.
Don't even think I saw that one, really.
It's really gory.
I tapped out by.
I know it's weird. I know it's weird, but it's like I kind of like that one. Plus, I'll tell you what's weird about that film is my friend Sean Clark that does Horror's Hallowed Grounds. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but he basically illegally goes to places where they shot these films, and he'll like film himself there.
I think I've heard of it.
Oh, he's cool. He's a cool dude. But he did like on the Halloween box set I've got that's out of print that Scream Factory put out. The last disc is nothing but him doing documentaries on like every fucking film. And it's crazy, and they're super long, but they're very interesting. But I never knew that part 6, this is so weird, it was shot in like Utah. So it's all like these Mormons, and then it was real weird, and it puts like a real weird vibe on the film. I mean, it's polished. It's like Dimension, like when Disney owned all that shit or whatever, and they were still cranking out stuff in the 90s. But I kind of have a soft spot for it. I like Paul Rudd. I don't know. It's weird. It's not really a great movie. You should watch it. It's the first thing he ever did, I think.
Okay. I mean,
or one of the first. Anyway.
I got my iPad with me, so
check it out. I mean, I'm not saying it's great, but it's it's kind of like the Friday the 13th. It's like which one of those do you have a favorite of the Friday the 13th movies? Mine's part 4.
Once again, I only the first 2 I think are sick, but like I kind of lost the plot after 3.
Do really. 4, Crispin Glover doing that dance.
Yeah. I'll have to revisit 4. But
and Zito directed it.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did part 4, and Savini came back and did all the makeup because they were actually supposed to kill him in that, and then whatever. But I like part 8 too. I love the New York one.
Well, there's one where they blow Jason up. And then some dude...
Jason Goes to Hell.
That's it. Yeah.
That one's actually grown on me over the years. It's super fucking gory. I mean, Jason's not in it.
The funny thing about... Yeah, there's not... The other guy kind of takes on his essence and...
Yeah, he keeps transferring like people to person.
When we were recording the Great Annihilation, the room, we had like a TV and on some channel they were playing that at like 2 o'clock in the morning almost every night. So... When we got back from recording session, it's like I put that on almost every night and watch part of it. So I have to watch Jason Goes to... I haven't watched it from the beginning to the end yet, so I'm gonna have to do that.
I mean, Jason's in it all of about 10 minutes probably, but then it's cool. Yeah. It's super gory. You got this black dude. He's calls himself the Duke.
Yep.
Walks around. I mean, it's not bad. When I first saw that, because I was wanting Jason in the film, and it just didn't happen or whatever. We had Kane Hodder on. And I've become kind of friends with Kane now. And I don't know all of the movies that he did, but I'm telling you that, man, the one that I'll stick up for, and I'll see people's reviews, like by this, some kid or something. I love Jason Takes Manhattan. That movie's so much fun.
I've seen it.
The fucking kills in that are ridiculous.
Yeah.
He throws that one dude out the fucking window and then dunks his ass in fucking like toxic waste.
Yeah, it's definitely over the top.
It's bad, but it's fun. It's so much fun. It's not like serious sin, but it's awesome because he's like fucking hacking everybody to bits. But yeah, I like those. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Just the first. I only like the first one.
Same here.
I can't get that.
Same here. I gotta go with you on that. Yeah. It's a fucking comedy. I can't really. I like Dennis Hopper.
Matthew McConaughey, great, but like. There's nothing funny about fucking Leatherface, man.
No, it's not supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like it's not. The kind of like sketchy starkness of the first film is perfect. You know what I mean? And once you have like the second one, it just
I mean, it's a masterpiece. It really is. It's definitely my favorite.
It's a masterpiece. It's the same way that Night of the Living Dead is a masterpiece.
Totally agree.
You know, just like low budget, like completely unique types of films. Both of those.
Every shot of it, and just, I mean, it's so artistic. Actually, the shots in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I fucking love it. Definitely some of my favorite stuff. Do you like David Lynch?
Oh man, David
Blue
Lynch.
Velvet.
Blue Velvet. Oh man, let's see my favorite.
That's my jam.
Lynch.
I like that. I love
Blue Velvet is such a great film.
He's so fucking crazy in that. The thing where he's talking to Brad Dourif, he's like, hey Frank, do you want me to put? No, I want you to fuck it. It's just all
like completely believable dialogue in a weird way.
He's scary. It's
with like that type of guy, you can imagine him saying shit like that, you know?
Oh, it's so over the top. It's
I would say like probably The Lost Highway 2 is my other one.
That's a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
It really is.
Really slick vibe to it.
Yeah, it's cool. I like that one. I think of some other stuff I was going to ask you. Kubrick. We're getting off horror now.
Yeah, man.
Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange is good.
The
Shining. There's a fucking movie I saw by him. Not too long.
I like Eyes Wide Shut.
That's a good one.
That's a weird movie, man.
Man, it's gonna come to me like probably at 2:00 in the morning tonight. The name of this other movie. I'm not. I've seen all those films, but he's got so many films that I haven't seen though, and I'm trying to catch up on his catalog. But yeah, for me, it's probably Clockwork Orange and The Shining. It's out of the films that I've seen that I can remember that I really enjoy.
They did a thing last year where they showed The Shining in the theater. I went and watched it twice. That Fandango event thing, whenever they do that fucking Fathom events. That's it. They call that shit.
The Killing. That's the movie I'm thinking.
The Killing.
About. It's a movie. One of his early.
Never
films.
seen that.
It's black and white. The Killing. That's a movie by him. That's really good. Or old. It might have been his second or third film he made. Like
I might have to watch that.
Ago. Yeah, The Killing.
It sounds awesome. Do you like any of the Psycho movies?
Just the first one, really. Just the first Psycho. Was like the remake. Not really. I didn't really get into too many of those.
The second one I really loved.
Second one, yeah. I don't think I've ever even seen the second one.
Tom Holland that directed Fright Night and Child's Play did it. Well, I don't think he directed, but he wrote it.
Okay.
And then they asked Anthony Perkins, like, he's like, I'm not fucking doing this. And then he read it. He's like, oh, I'm totally doing this.
Yeah. Anthony, I think, once again, like, the first one is such an iconic movie,
it's so good.
I think I definitely have seen the second one, but I never really gravitated.
I swear you should check it out. I mean, it's one of those where I was never big into it. We haven't watched it on the podcast, but I bought it and on Blu-ray, and I was watching. I was like, man, this movie's actually pretty fucking good because it's real creepy.
Okay,
because this woman shows up essentially in it and is like, "That's not your mom you've got up there. I'm your mom."
Oh shit. Okay.
And then the end of it, he whacks her over the fucking head with a shovel and buries her. I mean, it's great. But I just ruined the movie. But it's ridiculous.
No, I do remember the film.
It's real.
But I don't remember how much I really enjoyed it. So maybe I should go back and check it out.
It's one of those I didn't dig as a kid, and I've revisited it. I don't know. Is this one of those weird, bad, late night things I watched as a kid and didn't like it now, like Joe Bob Briggs or whatever? I actually got kicked off the Universal tour for walking up to the Psycho house. I'm actually proud of that. I got totally kicked off of it when I was in my early 20s. I got kicked out of the fucking theme park for that. Dude, I can't thank you enough for doing this.
Thank you, man.
It's fucking amazing.
My pleasure, pleasure.
New Tombs album is out now. Metal Blade Records. Buy it, listen to it. It's fucking awesome. Go see them on tour. They're going to be out. By the time I get this up, they're going to be out with Crowbar.
Yeah, by the time, later, a couple weeks.
Check it out. It's fucking awesome. If you get a chance and I get it up sooner, then they're going to be at Ozfest. They're all over. You guys are playing everywhere. And dude, it's awesome to have you on. I hope you'll come back on sometime. This is fucking awesome. I appreciate this.
Yeah, stay in touch, man. Now I have another podcast.
Well, you added me on Facebook too, so
yeah, definitely, bro.
So we can.
This is Mike Hill of Tombs, and you're listening to the Phantasm Podcast. All right.